Okay, so what if everything you thought about happiness,
Mm.
what if it's just wrong? Like, what if chasing it is actually the thing making you more anxious? Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take sources, could be articles, research, books, our own notes, and we really pull out the key insights. We want to give you that shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. We try to find surprising facts, maybe offer some fresh perspectives, and yeah, hopefully keep you hooked with a bit of humor along the way. Today, we are diving deep into a really fascinating book, one that kind of pushes back hard against our modern obsession with happiness. It's Derren Brown's Happy. Our mission here is to unpack its main message, maybe take apart some of the common myths and challenges, and there are quite a few. We'll explore why these ideas feel even more urgent right now, with AI, anxiety, digital overload, all that stuff. And then we'll try to boil it down to 5 key takeaways for you. Really, we're here to guide you through these sometimes provocative ideas, help you connect the dots, and hopefully give you a fresh, maybe even liberating perspective on what living well actually means.
When most people hear the name Derren Brown, they probably think magician, right?
Mm.
Illusionist, mind reader, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. The guy who predicts lottery numbers or makes people do strange things.
Exactly. But in this book, Happy, he's showing a completely different side. He's not just performing. He's he's really an intellectual challenger, a provocateur almost.
That's a great way to put it. He's someone who deeply understands human perception, our psychology, and crucially, isn't afraid to question these really fundamental assumptions we have about ourselves and happiness.
So he's not just showing us the tricks, he's showing us how our own minds trick us.
Precisely. And his core argument in Happy is, honestly, it's quite bracing. He basically says, look, happiness isn't some permanent state you chase down and finally achieve. It doesn't work like that.
Okay, so what is it then?
It's more like a byproduct, something that arises from how we live, how we see the world. And this is key, how we learn to accept its inherent uncertainty, its messiness.
Uncertainty. That sounds like the opposite of what most self-help promises.
Right. And what's really interesting is how much he draws on ancient Stoic philosophy. He brings Epictetus and Seneca right into the 21st century. It's like he's dusting off these old ideas and saying, hey, pay attention. This stuff is incredibly relevant to our modern anxieties.
So definitely not your typical self-help book with like 5 easy steps to bliss.
Oh, not at all. Quite the opposite. He actively goes after the whole positive thinking movement. He pokes holes in the obsession with self-esteem. And he seriously questions this relentless drive we have to control everything, to find certainty where maybe, just maybe, there isn't any.
That idea of control, he links it directly to anxiety.
Yes, that's central. He pretty much says, and this is almost a direct quote running through the book, the pursuit of happiness through control is the root of anxiety, not its antidote. That line just nails his whole premise.
Wow. Okay, let's unpack that. That feels huge. Pursuing happiness through control creates anxiety. So what problem was he seeing? What gap was he trying to fill with this book?
That's the core question, isn't it? He's looking at this paradox.
Yeah.
We live in arguably the most comfortable, technologically connected time ever.
Right. We have everything, supposedly.
Exactly. And yet, anxiety, unhappiness, burnout, they seem pervasive. He's basically saying the standard narrative about how to be happy, the one sold by, social media influencers and a lot of self-help gurus, it's not working. It might even be making things worse.
So what are the specific illusions he's targeting?
He focuses on 3 main interconnected illusions, or gaps, as he sees them. First, there's what he calls the tyranny of positive thinking.
Tyranny. That's a strong word.
It is. He means this relentless pressure to think positive, as if joy is just, one vision board away. He argues this forces us to suppress difficult but very real emotions, and then we feel guilty or like failures when we can't just be happy on demand.
Yeah, I could see that. That pressure's real.
So instead, he advocates for a worldview that actually accepts suffering, accepts uncertainty, accepts imperfection as just part of life, not something to be eliminated or thought away.
Okay, what's the second illusion?
That builds on the first, the illusion of control over life. We're constantly told that if we just plan better, work harder, optimize our routines, use the right life hacks, we can master everything.
The ultimate goal-setting life.
Pretty much. But Brown argues life is fundamentally chaotic. We're not really in control of most outcomes. And trying to be in total control is precisely what generates anxiety. So he leans heavily on the Stoics again. Forget controlling outcomes. Focus on controlling your response. Find peace there, not an achievement.
Response, not results. That's a shift. And the third illusion, it's about the self.
Yes. The third is a deep misunderstanding of the self and meaning. We tend to think of the self as this fixed thing inside us, something to be discovered or healed or perfected. This leads to endless searching, finding yourself.
The quest for the authentic self.
Right. Brown suggests something quite different and maybe a bit radical. He says the self isn't a fixed thing you find. It's more like a story you're constantly telling yourself, constantly editing. And happiness, or maybe contentment, comes not from clinging rigidly to one version of that story, but from holding it more lightly, accepting that you're always unfolding.
So the self is a narrative, not a static object.
Exactly. So his answer isn't about making you plaster on a smile. It's much deeper. It's about helping you, as he puts it, make peace with not always needing to.
That is a powerful shift, especially when everything out there seems geared towards constant improvement and positivity. Okay, so Brown isn't just presenting ideas. He's actively taking down some widely held beliefs.
No.
You said he debunks myths. Let's get into that. This sounds like where it gets really interesting.
Oh, absolutely. He really goes after some sacred cows of modern happiness culture. Let's list a few key myths he dismantles. Myth number 1. Happiness is the natural default state of life. He just flat out rejects this.
Rejects it, but isn't that the goal?
Well, he reframes it. He says happiness is transient. It's like emotional weather, sometimes sunny, sometimes stormy. Sadness, anxiety, frustration. These aren't signs of failure. They're just part of the human climate. Expecting constant sunshine is unrealistic and sets you up for disappointment.
Okay, that makes sense. What else?
Then there's the big one. You can think your way to success and happiness. The whole law of attraction idea.
Manifesting your dreams.
Right. Brown is deeply skeptical. He basically says reality doesn't owe you anything just because you have positive thoughts. It's wiser, he argues, to accept the things you can't control and focus your energy on your actions and responses within the reality you actually have.
That's going to ruffle some feathers. What about self-esteem? That's foundational in psychology, isn't it?
It is, but he challenges the way we pursue it. Myth 3. Self-esteem is the foundation of a good life. Brown argues that chasing high self-esteem, especially when it's unearned, can actually make you fragile, maybe even narcissistic, always needing validation.
So what's the alternative?
Self-compassion. Being kind to yourself, especially when you mess up, when things are hard. That, he says, builds real resilience, unlike the brittle shell of constant self-praise.
Self-compassion over self-esteem. Interesting. What about finding your true self?
Ah, yes. Myth 4. The self is a fixed, authentic identity to be discovered. We touched on this. He reframes it beautifully. The self is a fluid narrative you co-create every day. Clinging too tightly to a fixed idea of who you are is often where suffering comes from. Seeing it as a story gives you freedom to change the plot.
That's quite liberating, actually.
It can be. Then there's myth 5. You need a clear, specific purpose to live a meaningful life. Another sacred cow.
The search for purpose.
Exactly. Brown suggests meaning isn't found in some grand, ultimate destiny you have to discover. It emerges more organically from how you engage with everyday life. Small acts of kindness, being present, accepting things, that's where meaning is made, not in some distant, lofty goal.
That takes the pressure off finding that one big thing.
It does, and he even tackles death. Myth 6. Death is something to avoid thinking about. Most of us do, right?
Absolutely is uncomfortable.
But Brown argues the opposite. He says reflecting on our mortality isn't morbid, it's clarifying. It helps us appreciate life now, makes us focus on what truly matters. It gives life weight.
Okay. And the last one ties back to control.
Yes, the final myth really echoes his core message. You can control your future if you just plan well enough. His ultimate reframe. Acceptance, not control, is the path to peace. Focus on your response to whatever life throws at you, because you can't control the throwing.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot of conventional wisdom turned on its head.
Eh.
From your perspective reading this, which of these ideas felt the most revolutionary, the most challenging to how we typically think about well-being today?
That's a great question. What's fascinating here is how these ideas collectively form a powerful critique of, well, a lot of modern culture, the wellness industry, pop psychology, even hustle culture, for me personally. The idea that happiness is not a permanent state to be achieved, it's a byproduct. That one really lands. It lifts this enormous pressure we put on ourselves to constantly feel happy. It makes space for, just being human with all the ups and downs.
Yeah, the pressure to perform happiness is immense.
Exactly. And that connects to the second revolutionary idea. Self-esteem is a trap. Self-compassion is the true path to resilience. This flips decades of advice on its head. It shifts focus from puffing up your ego to simply being kind to yourself, flaws and all. That feels much more sustainable, much more real.
And the idea that the self is a story,
not a fixed thing.
That one is mind-bending for a lot of people. The self is a fiction, and that's liberating. We're so caught up in finding our true self, and he's saying maybe there isn't one static thing to find, and that's okay. It gives you permission to evolve, to change your narrative.
It feels less constraining.
Definitely. Also, his stance that positive thinking can be emotionally repressive. Brown is pro-reality. In a world saturated with good vibes only, advocating for feeling all your feelings honestly. That's pretty radical. He's saying suppression doesn't work, acceptance does.
And the death reflection piece.
Yeah, reflecting on death is essential to a meaningful life. That's deeply countercultural in a society that tries so hard to deny aging and mortality. He makes the case that embracing finitude is what gives life its urgency and value.
So pulling this all together,
Yeah.
what does this mean for us now in 2024 with everything going on? Why does this book feel not just relevant, but maybe even more urgent today?
Oh, it feels incredibly urgent. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Brown's ideas are like an antidote to several modern epidemics of unease.
Like what?
Well, first, we're drowning in performative happiness. Social media is the prime example, right? Everyone curating the perfect life. We mistake likes and validation for actual fulfillment. Brown's message, "You are not your performance," is such a necessary corrective,
It's a relief to hear that, honestly.
isn't it? And second, anxiety is practically the default state of modern existence. The news cycle, AI displacing jobs, climate change, political polarization, just the sheer pace of life. It's overwhelming. Brown's stoic emphasis on controlling only your response feels like a lifeline. Peace isn't about fixing the world. It's about finding peace within the messy world.
Making peace with the chaos, essentially.
Exactly. And related to that, the self-help industrial complex is booming, constantly selling us new solutions and making us feel inadequate. From manifesting to hyper-productivity, the message is always, you're not enough yet. Brown's critique of that toxic positivity, his call to stop trying to be amazing, just be, feels almost prophetic now. It's the antidote we need.
Just be. That sounds simple, but it's incredibly hard.
It is. Also, think about how we're addicted to identity and narrative, personal branding, identity politics. There's so much pressure to have a perfectly defined, consistent self. Brown's idea that the self is a fiction offers humility. It allows room for complexity, for change, for not having all the answers about who you are.
Less pressure to have it all figured out.
Precisely. And finally, we've forgotten death. Culturally, we push it away. But Brown insists, and I think current events make this resonate more, that acknowledging mortality isn't morbid. It's clarifying. It makes life precious. It encourages us to live more fully now.
It really does seem like these ideas have only gained potency. If Brown were to write an updated Happy today, facing our current digital intensity, the AI revolution, maybe even things like generational burnout, what new angles or topics do you think you might add?
Oh, he'd definitely have more targets. I suspect he'd sharpen his critique of the tyranny of wellness and the commodification of calm. You know, the expensive retreats, the perfect smoothie bowls, the curated mindfulness aesthetic.
Instagram wellness.
Right. He'd ask if it's really about acceptance or just another way to perform serenity and control discomfort through consumerism. He'd probably skewer spiritual materialism.
What about AI? That's a huge source of anxiety now.
Absolutely. He'd likely tackle AI anxiety and the myth of mental optimization. This drive to hack our brains, become super efficient, almost machine-like. He'd see that as another dangerous illusion of control. He'd probably say something like, "You're not a hard drive to be optimized. You're a messy, feeling human. Embrace that."
The pressure to be perfectly optimized.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's intense.
And the pressure around identity online, he'd probably dive deeper into the rise of identity exhaustion, the constant need to curate, define, and defend your identity online. He might ask, what if ambiguity, what if not knowing perfectly who you are is actually a form of freedom?
That's a challenging thought in today's climate.
Definitely. And given global instability, he'd likely double down on global chaos and the illusion of predictability. Reinforce the Stoic message. The world is uncertain. Peace comes from your internal response, not from predicting or controlling the external.
Any other modern pressures he might address?
Maybe the pressure to be emotionally intelligent, warning against turning self-awareness into just another performance metric. Or even mindfulness fatigue and the misuse of presence, pointing out when being present is used to numb out or avoid difficult realities, rather than truly accepting what is, even if it's uncomfortable. Presence isn't just calm, it's being here. Fully.
Wow. Okay, so we've journeyed through a lot of challenging, counterintuitive ideas. Let's try to distill this. If someone listening walks away with just 5 core takeaways from Happy, what should they be?
What are the absolute essentials Brown wants us to internalize?
Right. Let's nail down the 5 big ones. These are the principles that, if you really take them on board, could genuinely shift your perspective. Number 1, you cannot control life, only your response to it. This is pure stoicism right at the heart of the book. Remember that line. We suffer not from events, but from our judgment about them. Traffic jams, canceled plans, unexpected news. The suffering comes from resisting reality, from believing it should be different. Peace comes from accepting what is and choosing your response.
Okay, control your response, not the event. Got it. Number 2.
Number 2, happiness is not a goal. It's a side effect of living well. Stop chasing happiness directly. It doesn't work. Brown says, happiness is not something you chase. It is what arises when you stop chasing. Focus instead on living authentically, engaging with the world, being kind, facing challenges. Happiness might then show up, uninvited, as a welcome byproduct.
So live well, and happiness might follow. Don't hunt it down. Makes sense. 3rd.
Third, the self is a story. So write a kinder one. This is huge. There is no real you to find, only a narrative to soften. Your identity isn't some fixed statue. It's a story you're telling, and you're the author. Realizing this gives you the power to revise that story, especially the harsh parts. Be a kinder narrator to yourself.
I like that. The power to reauthor. What's number 4?
Number 4, positive thinking can be a prison. That tyranny we talked about. Brown warns toxic positivity is the denial of our full humanity. Don't force yourself to feel good. Allow yourself to feel everything: sadness, anger, fear, with honesty and self-compassion. True acceptance is more healing than forced smiles.
Feel everything. Don't just force the good.
Right.
And the final one, number 5.
And number 5, death is not the enemy denial of the rein. It is. Contemplating death gives life weight, urgency, and clarity. Instead of fearing death or pushing it away, Brown encourages us to see it as a reminder to live fully, to appreciate the present, to focus on what truly matters. It's not morbid, it's motivating.
Wow. Those 5 really encapsulate a radically different approach to life. Brown definitely gives us mirrors, not easy answers. Thinking about all this, what really stands out to you personally from this deep dive?
For me, it keeps coming back to that line about suffering arising from our judgments, not events. We suffer not from events in our lives, but from our judgment about them. That just clicks. Reading Happy, it felt like getting permission. Permission to stop striving so damn hard all the time. Permission to fail, to feel bad, to be uncertain. Permission to sometimes just sit with the discomfort and call it peace, instead of frantically trying to fix it or chase some elusive happy state. It's about finding contentment within the reality of things, not despite it.
Yeah, that sense of permission is powerful. It feels like this deep dive offers a toolkit, maybe not to build a better you, but to loosen your grip on needing to be one. That really seems to capture it.
That's a perfect way to put it. If you had to sum up the book's core message in one sentence, it might be this. Happy is a philosophical unlearning, a call to stop chasing the illusion of happiness and start living with awareness, humility, and a radical embrace of uncertainty. It's about unlearning the unhelpful stuff we've been taught.
A philosophical unlearning. I like that. So as you go about your day after listening to this, maybe consider this thought. What if the biggest myths keeping us unhappy are the very ones promising to make us happy? We really encourage you to chew on these ideas. How might embracing uncertainty or seeing yourself as a story you can kindly edit change how you view your day-to-day life? Maybe think about one small act of acceptance you could practice today, even just for a moment. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Derren Brown's Happy. We genuinely hope you found these insights valuable, maybe a little challenging, and definitely thought-provoking.